Do you think we're stupid? He goes, do you think we train 1,000 people on a process that does not work? And I go, well, probably not. Close $63,000 in new business the next month. 90% of sales leaders I talk to don't look at rep productivity.
That is insane.
Yeah, they don't look at it. Part of this is just understanding that you as a leader are responsible for finding ways to increase rep productivity.
AI-powered seller.
Welcome back, everyone. This is our 4th episode of the AI-powered seller. And last time, we got a little spicy last time. We talked about, will AI replace sales enablement? We got all sorts of feedback on that one. But today we're going a little bit of a different path around why so many teams are seeing zero value from rolling out generative AI generically, right? So we're going to talk about when it should be custom, when it does not need to be custom, how to actually do it in a way where you get a return. Because at the end of the day, none of this matters if it's not improving performance, it's not improving the metrics. So we're going to talk about data, when to customize, and how to do it at scale. So this will be a good one today. So every week, as y'all know, we take DMs. So we're getting these every single week. If you have questions, send it to us. If you have things that you want us to go specifically deep on, send it to us, because this one was a really good one. So the DM question of the week was, what role does data quality play in customizing AI models, right? So how can businesses ensure they have the right data to do customization the right way?
So I think there's a few different things I think about with this. It's so funny, man. I talked to a lot of companies and it's always, well, the data, we've got to have this data. I want you to think about with a sales org, right? Which is what we talk about. The data is the playbook. The data is how we show up for meetings. It's how we best defined our ICP, our buyer personas, our competitive battle card. And so for me, we're going to dive into this, the kind of the custom GPT world. I think when I think of data for sales leaders, you need to be thinking about your quality of that data. Because when you want to start to create some of these custom models, the more, precise your playbooks, your personas, your ICPs are, the answers that it returns for the sales team are exponentially better than, some of the data points, right? You see these tools, it's like, when you mention the customers, whatever, you get a 3% likelihood. Like, don't get me wrong, like that's an interesting data point, but instead imagine a world, and what we're gonna dive into is, hey, I've got a competitive deal with this company and this company. Here's the situation, it's a CFO, we're competing against Zendesk. Tell me the top 3 things I should avoid or the top 3 things I should double down on. If your content data is on point, that actually is what I think creates a better, call it output.
So that's an interesting take, and it's the right take. Because I think when most people think data, they actually think literal metrics, versus what Jay just walked through is actually like the context, the content of like what's happening.
Context. That's a good way. That's a really good way.
It's more context than it is data, because you hear people say, "Oh, we have all this data." It's like, cool, but you have no context to it.
That's right.
Here's the win rates of our last 1,000 deals. And
that's right.
But if you don't tell it what to look for, if you don't pick up on the pattern of performance, so I think that's a good way to flip it. Is like when y'all hear data, it's actually the context, it's the personas, it's what's worked in the past, it's the insights you can provide to the data. I think makes this work well.
I think that's right, man.
Let's jump in here and talk custom AI models, right? Because I think a lot of times when people hear it, they go, "Oh shit."
Yeah.
Like what is it? How do I do this? Oh, I need all this data. I need an LLM. What's an LLM? How do I set this up? How do we go through all of this? So what I think it's led to is a lot of people doing like just plug and play.
That's right.
I wrote
Copilot.
Right?
Copilot. Nobody got fired for implementing Copilot.
No, it's the safe way to do it.
That's right.
And I wrote about this just this week on LinkedIn of like, OPP or OPD, right? Of like, are you using other people's prompts or other people's data?
Yeah.
And I think when people are doing that, it's taking them a different direction. So when does it make sense to do custom versus more of a plug and play AI model for a company?
Yeah, that's a great question. Look, I think things that are more universal for your company, right? And even like, and let's take like a Copilot. If you're going to install Copilot for your company, and you want to have a really easy access to product specifications. You want to have easy access to FAQs, things that are like universally, known or universally, there's not like kind of precise tactical applications that would happen. Totally fine. Okay. A more generic model that you can just upload a bunch of your information to, and it's going to pull out. I'm like, hey, what's the specs on this product again? What does this thing do versus this? So I think it's the more generic pieces where a more general thing that you're going to implement is relatively fine, because you really just need the LLM to look for the information, and you're giving it your products, right? And so it doesn't need to necessarily know how to customize it to a situation. Now, you could obviously argue like, well, if you could customize it to a situation, that would obviously be better too. But those are the applications. And I'd say ChatGPT, for example, if you're using that, like the Teams more general, it's about the level of precision that you want. If you are okay, because ChatGPT out of the box is pretty damn good. Really the paid version, and Perplexity is getting there, and a lot of them are getting there. If it's more like general Q&A, general, research, I think all those are fine.
Yeah, it's actually I hadn't thought about it this way till you said it. It's actually a good guide of like, if the answer can be generic, it's okay to use a generic program.
I think that's the right way to put it.
Be specific to your use case, a certain persona, a certain industry. That's where the word that I think we're just going to drill with people is context. It will just be missing.
That's exactly it, man.
To go through it, right? Because also too, we had to think about resources. Like if you're early as a company, you may not have the resources. You may not even have the context to give. So it's probably. Actually, I want your take on this. I'm an early company.
Yeah.
I don't have all these resources. I don't have a lot of data. I don't have a lot of context. Is it the right play to put a generic one in, or could that actually could it take me down the wrong path without actually doing it the right way from the
get? We're going to get into this, but I think the interesting thing is, we talked about this in the last episode about sales enablement and the content. Before, to build out all this documentation, it would have taken you 40, 50, 60, people hours. ChatGPT can write your personas for you.
True.
It can write your competitive, and then it can get you 80%, and then you spend one, person hour on the customization. So, look, I think maybe it's about the level of precision. It's like, do I need this to be directionally right 70 to 90% of the time, and that's good enough? Or like, man, is the extra mile to get toward the long tail, a 10% increase in productivity, a 20% increase in productivity. It's like, I think those are the things that I would balance is what's the risk reward here. So if if you do some, I would test. That's what I'd say. Test the generic model. Hey, look, I work at this company, insert link. I sell this product, insert link. I'm in a competitive deal with insert link. And the persona is this persona in this industry. And then you try to run it and you say like, well, yeah, that's pretty dang good. And that gets me there. So I think I would say it's a test thing.
Yeah. I think that'll be interesting to watch how companies do it, because you have people rolling out completely generic programs and then they're like, nope, nothing happened.
That's what we see with Salesforce right now, man. I got to tell you, because again, we've got a lot of companies where, we lost a deal maybe 3 or 4 weeks ago, and the guys like, they went to we've got buying from the CEO. We never lose deals at contract. Like if we're sending a contract, this is a done deal, right? And then somehow the COO was like, well, we need to pause because we're thinking about our generative AI strategy across our org. And we've talked about this, man. It is, and I emailed the CEO. Look, I don't get bitter when I lose deals, okay? I'm okay. I lose deals.
So you realize that every opener disqualifies what comes after it. I don't get bitter.
I don't get bitter. Look, I have more. I know. It's more of like, I don't feel the need to respond other than like, no problem. I'll follow up in a month. Let's see how things are going. I felt obliged to email the CEO. I'm like, I'm just going to tell you, you're thinking about this completely the wrong way. You are going to implement a solution that there is no solution that works for finance and also works for your BDR. And also works for your biz ops team and for your customer success team. Each of these are personalized use cases of it. So if you're going to pick a generative AI strategy or whatever, you're still developing custom applications of how departments are going to use this to get that level of specificity. So that's the biggest problem that I see is people think that implementing a generic AI like Copilot's the most popular because it's micro, especially for bigger companies that are risk adverse. And thinking that just a generic application is going to do it. Like I said, it works in those cases of product or more random things, but it just doesn't get specific enough for a lot of these. So I felt, Katie, I felt like it was my duty to make sure the CEO was informed He didn't respond.
No,
He didn't respond.
He'll respond.
Nobody wants to. Yeah, exactly. He'll respond in like 2 months.
I was gonna say 3 months. You're gonna get a note on that. It's like, hey, you were right. I love those ones. I frame those ones. I'm like, hey, Katie, you were right. And I go, okay.
Yeah, that's
right.
we call that planting seeds or planting mental bombs. Where I put it, I implant an issue that if this comes up in like the next month or so, then maybe we should pick back up the conversation. And everybody says yes because I know it's going to happen in the next month. And then they come back and they're like, oh yeah, maybe we should talk about that. So that's it, man. I think when there's a precision of specificity that is a 10-20% better, because we as humans actually suck at perceiving 10 to 20% better. Think about like baseball is such a classic, metrics, game. You think about it, the guy who hits 320 versus the guy who hits, 280, if you watch that both of them hit, you'd be like, I don't know how much is better. I mean, you're talking about a half of, or 50, 0.5% difference, right? 5% difference. We can't feel that. We as humans don't feel small perceptions. And I think this is, we're talking more about sales best practices, but hey, that's what we're here for. It's like, that's why reps don't understand the difference between a great script and a good script, is because you can't really feel the difference until you look at the data and say, actually, this did increase my conversion rates from stage 3 to stage 4 by 8%. Well, guess what? 8% is meaningful, but I think that level of specificity that the answer for a lot of this, and I know we're going to get into kind of like why it's simple to start. I think that's a lot of it too. It's like, this is good enough. It's like, well, I mean, actually it could be 10 or 20% better.
Yeah, because we have really bad memories as human too. It's like I'm experiencing this with my own team right now, right? Like we have one of my orgs almost tripled production over the last 9 months. Like production, not just revenue, like at a per rep basis. We're almost at a 3x right now, which also means I have reps making 2 to 3 times more now. And they don't remember what it was like 6-7 months ago. They only know what they're experiencing now. And now it's like I'm still striving to get that next 10%. And that next 10%, and that next 10%. And there's actually this gap a little bit right now of like, well, KD, we're already here. Like we're 3 times better. And it's like, yeah, but we could be 4 or 5 times. And like, it's those little steps people always forget. Reps, business leaders as well. It's like, oh, that's what worked then. They don't remember the differences as they move forward.
That's right. The small incremental wins that stacked over it. And I think that's the application here is, can it get you 5 or 10% better if you do? Or are there these general applications that are totally fine? Yeah. So let me ask this to you. So I think the cool part is, you have kind of went through, your team has went through, we did the 6-week accelerator, and we'll have another one kicking off. We did launch the next one in January early. We'll have another one kicking off, I think late Feb. So we'll link to the link for that. So talk about it. Like, so if you want to get involved in this kind of custom model, custom GPT type world, why is it simple to start, or how would you think about starting?
Oh man, like I think this is fun because with my team, so a quote I come back to all the time, I read it at least once a month. I come back to this leadership quote where it says, the strength of the leader can become the weakness of the team.
Sure.
I come back to this quote
I can relate.
all the time to remind myself of like, where am I strong that I might be creating a weakness in my team? And if I look at my previous company, I was, whatever, this would be a big word, but like I was on the forefront of like AI, starting to like, I was starting to do it a lot. But it never translated down to my team well. And I was like, I think I created that gap. I was strong at it. So people was like, oh, Katie will figure this out. So my current company, I had all my leaders go through the course. So this is the first reason why this is easier. Is there's education out there. It's no longer you and I talking over beers, trying to figure stuff out. Like, there's education. That's why it's simpler. But I took 100% novices. Like there was no context around AI occurring. Going through that program to now having managers building custom GPTs in my org 6 weeks later, so the education's out there. But then 2, once you know how to do this, you don't need that much to get going.
No, right? Not at all. It's not technical. I think a lot of times people hear custom AI, whatever, and they're like, bro, I don't even know like how to use it in the first place, and they get overwhelmed. And it's like, it's an LLM. You just use words.
Yeah, you talk to it, like almost literally.
Yeah.
You explain what you're looking to do, and this is also why it's simple. Is generally a lot of the best use cases for custom GPTs you're already doing manually. So if you can walk it through the process of what you're trying to do automatically, it's so much easier, right? Like we did it like our scorecards. We already had the scorecard built,
right?
And by the way, there's also custom GPT scorecard builders that help you build the scorecard. But we took the scorecard, we put in what we were looking to do. Actually, I'm gonna rephrase this: we did not. Guller did. I played zero role in this at all. Guller took the scorecards. Guller went through the program. Guller built the custom GPT. Guller tested it. Guller presented it, tweaked it, and now we have a GPT running for all of our calls.
Yeah,
every single one of them being scored, and it was like 10 hours of work. Like I asked him, I was like, how long did it take for you to actually do this? He was like, well, probably like 10, 12 hours total. I was like, how fast would it be now? He's like, probably 4 to 5 hours. I could get this done.
How much does that save him time a month? And now multiply that across all your leaders.
So actually, this is the other. I love how you brought up, like, we're not good at like the small increments. We're also not good at big numbers.
Yeah.
Like, we don't understand right now for this team in particular. I have 20 active sellers, and this is my inbound org. They are handling anywhere from 60 to 70 opportunities or like demos like a month per rep. And now almost every single one of those being scored by this GPT, where at best case, my managers could have done 2 to 3 calls per rep every other week. Now it's all like, it changes everything. We're talking about hundreds of hours, right? Not only being saved, but
gained.
Exactly.
Gained.
It's not even just like a save, it's like overproducing. We're getting almost everything scored now and being able to measure. Actually, right before recording this, I just got off with one of my managers from a one-on-one. And that's what we were talking about. Is like, we need the reps leveraging this more, not just us to them, but them using it as well. And then it's easier to update, right? Which I think is the other thing we talked about, where we didn't talk about on the first portion, is like, you got to keep improving it. Even if you start generic, it should never stay generic. Like, you have to continually feed it more information, right? And so I think those are things where, like, actually I throw that back to you. If you look at these companies, like, how do they keep them up to date, right? Because I think a lot of people, like, it's like, why these generic ones is a flash, right? They launch it and it goes.
Yeah, it's like it's decent.
Woo!
Yeah.
And then it dies down. Like, how do you maintain it? How do you keep it?
Well, you actually talked about a lot of, I think, things that are important, which is, one, there's got to be a belief that this is the way, right? Mm-hmm. That I think a lot of leaders, and I've done this, and when I'm doing talks, I'll ask leaders to raise your hand. I go, how many of you tried using generative AI for a certain period, and then gave up? And like, okay, you've done it. How many of you then kind of gave up for a little bit, and then everyone like keeps their hands up, right? Or how many of you never went back? Mm-hmm. So I think that leaders, you just got to believe, these numbers. As we think about the future of scaling teams, everybody is less with more, right? And I was talking to one of our private equity partners on Tuesday, and I was like, I talked to her. I said, look, your leadership team has never been asked to actually care or look at rep productivity. Rep productivity isn't something that most people even track. And the reality is, how most orgs know how to scale is you add this amount of people with this amount of quota with this, and that's been the play. That's been the play for a long time. And so the idea of rep productivity, and look, me as a leader, I need to learn this shit. Mm-hmm. I need to be an expert. Again, most of them don't know. Most of them don't know rep productivity. So if you're not tracking,
that is wild.
Katie, I would guess 90% of sales leaders I talk to don't look at rep productivity.
That is insane.
Yeah, they don't look at it. Because they look at it's simple and easy to just say X number of quota, waterfall up to your number or down or however with X number of attrition equals this. Oh. That if you think about how, look, I built a model, kind of forecast like that in 2012, and that's just kind of how they have learned to do it. So, part of this is just understanding that you as a leader are responsible for finding ways to increase rep productivity. Mm-hmm. And just across the org, and this is the answer: is if you can provide these custom solutions. Just think about that. It's the first technology where not only are we usually when you're able to do more, the quality degrades at a massive level. Look at your outbound strategies. Perfect example. Yes. And this is the first where it's like, and not only is it more, it's like a higher quality output. And so I think there's like a belief at the top that we need to do this. This is something that we're going to stick with. This isn't something where, yeah, we're going to try it. Because again, a lot of this is, you got to think it's our job now as, CEOs, CROs, VPs. It's our job to teach our people. And that means you have to learn it as well too, that this is a new way to problem solve. And we've talked about this, I know, in past episodes, but there's a change management lift around getting the org rallied around, like, we're going to continue to make this investment and stick with it. The cost, and once you've done that, you've built the rhythm. As you think about kind of this crawl, walk, run, is, it's like, great, this quarter we're going to build. Here are the biggest bottlenecks and time sucks. Mm-hmm. Is there a solution where we could customize a solution, and we will? And what's the potential impact of that? Okay, great. So we'll build this one and we'll maintain this. Again, you don't need to be a programmer to do this. No. All you need to understand is, like, there's some very basic, and if we've got I'm sure Brian did probably what we'll maybe do is we'll link to like this one episode or course where Brian talks about just how to write good custom instructions for custom GPT. So if we've got something, we'll link to it. But the cost to maintain is really just the consistent updating, like almost like a product. Like, you're creating these like little mini products, and a few hours a month. But again, it's not. You don't need a technical person to do it. And then the last thing I'll say is, you don't need to try to do, like I mentioned, I guess, you don't need to try to do it all at once. No. You can you kind of pick one or two. But I think if you don't believe that you have to do it and that you have to maintain these things, you're going to be in trouble. And then the other piece is the technology is just getting so good so fast.
So good.
And so, even when you think you've mastered it, well, then, ChatGPT adds citing its sources. Okay, Perplexity. This is a big one. About a month, 3 weeks, or I guess it would have been a few months now. Perplexity started in their API adding the site sourcing, and so they're evolving. So again, if you as a leader aren't taking the time to understand what's possible, it's just, word in sales we're not used to moving in these fast cycles of like rapid change. But you can make it simple. So again, getting started, I think, is relatively easy to start. Just getting a basic education, and then to maintain. You can just pick one or two use cases, and then just having this kind of consistent optimization rhythm. And I think that's what a lot of people need.
Yeah, I want to read this. Actually, this is from Guller, my manager, to one of my VPs, Jeff. We built another one for our other sales org to go through, right? It's like, so he built it for another org, right? So we have this org by org by org. I just want to read, like, I'm so proud of my team right now. I'm so proud of them. Like, I just love this, right? So Jeff got it. They've been communicating on it. And then Guller messaged Jeff. I told Jeff I can make it even better if he scores 5 to 10 calls with the scorecard, provides the reasonings to why he scored the way he did. We can feed that back into the knowledge base and make it even stronger. I was like, oh, I'm gonna.
That's all you have to do. It's such a good example.
Like, oh, okay. So he scores 7 calls. Gives feedback on why it scores the way that it did. Fed it back in. Even better. And what's actually interesting, I was talking about this with them this week. Even where it's not perfect, you mentioned like 80, 90%. What's wild is it is almost never wrong on the misses. Like, if a rep didn't do something well, it's almost never wrong.
Right.
Just every once in a while, it thinks the rep did something well that it didn't. But that's the 10%. But because it gives the reason, we can see like, oh, wait, no. That's not great. That wasn't good. But it's wild. Like, if you have a good scorecard in place, it catches if a rep did not do it. But sometimes it says, oh, yeah, that was a great bucket question. And you're like, no, it wasn't.
And here's why.
And we can address it.
That's
and
right.
We feed it back. So it's just ongoing, but it's just wild what you can do. And that started generic and now it's become custom, right? So it's just, there's so many use cases here.
Yeah, and again, but even spending a little bit of time on this one, the other thing, think about the positive. You now have, how many of you, if I went and listened to this manager's job, this manager's team versus this manager's team versus this manager's team versus this manager team, how different would be what they consider quality? And that's not good. That's not good. There is a right and a wrong way to probably run a call at your company. And so if you are trying to, you're letting 4 or 5 different managers, you're not creating a center of excellence for what it means to be a great rep at your company. And you have to be able to capture these best practices where everybody can have insights on them. But you have, look, we know if people execute this is the right way to do it. So you're also creating a quality uniformity of proven processes, which I think is also,
I always love this when people go down as well, but Jake, I'm not going to turn my people into robots, right? There's
Of course.
10 different ways to do this.
I need to
And
let-
I was like, oh, have you ever been to like a Michelin star restaurant before? You ever been to like a 5-star restaurant?
Yeah.
Do they let their cooks all cook different?
I'm an artiste.
I'm an artist. No, the recipe is the recipe. They might add some flair. But like the recipe is the recipe. And there are recipes hiding within orgs that they just don't realize. Like Jake is our top performer. Here's what he does differently than the rest.
That's repeatable. Right.
Because there's some things that like, the acronym that I say a lot right now is like WIGGLE, right? WGLL, what good looks like. And I actually had someone ask me once, like, well, why isn't what greatness looks like? Why is it what good looks like versus what great looks like? And I was like, I actually have a reason for that. I believe everyone can be good.
Right.
I don't necessarily believe everyone can be great.
Agreed.
There's some nuances, some natural abilities, some behavioral,
That's right.
that separates that top 5%, 1%.
100% agree.
That's greatness. But I believe I can get everybody
That's
good.
my saying is I can create an army of B players. It is the extra. That's what makes you an A.
Hey.
But if you just do these things, you're not going to lose.
You will succeed. You'll be good, right? And you can earn your way to greatness. But there's greatness hiding in every org that they just don't capture. And out of fear of feeling prescriptive, I actually had a message today. It's like, well, how do I do this without it, without like restricting my reps? I was like, this is not about restricting. This is about uplifting your reps, right? Like, here's what needs to be accomplished in discovery. How you accomplish it, cool, like swim.
We got to do this part first, this part second. There's a framework.
Right.
And as long as we do this, but it also stops people from skipping around. Like there's, I was very fortunate. I was like 26, 27 is when I went to a company that kind of taught me this. And I didn't believe it was a thing of like the science of the sale. I was good, like a natural seller. And I was very interested in psychology. And I was struggling. I struggled my first few months. Maybe I told this story before around my boss pulls me in as the second last person to sell anything. I'm like, what the hell? I'm God's gift to sales. Like, why haven't I closed anything? And my boss's boss had listened to my call and he goes, Jake, why aren't you following the roadmap, the script? I go, the script? I am Jake Dunlap. He goes, Jake, let me ask you this. Do you think we're stupid? He goes, do you think we train 1,000 people on a process that does not work? And I go, well, probably not.
Probably not.
Close $63,000 in new business in the next month.
There you go.
And I was just like, holy crap, this is a thing. Because actually it was very freeing. Because I had the best practices roadmap, I didn't have to think about my next question.
Right.
I didn't have to think. I could just show up and execute. And I've got a similar analogy to you. I'm like, okay, do you think the best movies in the world are made with no script and just the quality actor? It's like, so Anthony Hopkins reads a script, but you're better than Anthony Hopkins. Mm-hmm. You're better than 2-star Michelin restaurant. You are that damn good. And so I think as we're talking about these things, like all of these things are important. That's why if you haven't documented to be able to give the AI context, that's why you should be documenting.
Yep.
So
we'll part with some ideas here. It's like, one, let AI interview you. If you're like, well, I don't have all this stuff, let it interview you.
Yep.
I want you to ask me questions to better understand my deal process. I want you to ask me
Such a good application.
Just let it interview you. Get the context out of your head and down on paper, and now you have something to feed it. And if you're really taking this serious, I'm in the just spreadsheet hell right now, doing 2025 planning. Like I'm all up in it. The very first additional auxiliary hire I listed, like I'm calling like a GTM engineer or like AI like internal. Like I just want to hire one person to like be able to own this and drive this, because there's so much that could be done, and I'm creating budget for this. We're like, I want this, and now it's no excuse for me not understanding it. I'm gonna still try to stay
exactly
on top of it. But leaders out there, like, make budget for this. Get someone in, work with an agency, a consultant, someone who knows this to bring it into your orgs. Otherwise, you're gonna miss. You just are.
Well, that's it. I mean, and you're doing exactly what we're talking about. Is you're staying up to speed on it, so you know what's possible, and then you're finding those first use cases that unlock. And I think that's what anybody should do. So for me, man, there's some applications for generic AI, but I think all these things are related. The quality of your context is going to help. If you don't have context and if you really don't want to create the time to create bandwidth to create context, well, then just keep using more generic. Right. If you see the opportunity, like what Katie, hey, you're a CEO. you're scaling initially, or you're a bigger company, just again, interview me. Here, ask me 10 questions in order to help me create a buyer persona document. And I will answer your questions. And now the cool part is with the mobile app, you can do it all voice to voice. You can do it in your car.
Yes.
And now you can use custom GPTs in the mobile app too, which is a lot of fun. So, all right, man, closing thoughts.
I mean, at the end of the day, create the space, create the budget for this, but get started. It's the pursuit. Don't let greatness prevent goodness. We'll be like, well, I need to do it perfectly. Get started. If that's all it will take to get started is generic, start generic, but then build it to custom. But don't wait. I can't remember the quote, right? Like, the pursuit of perfection get in the way of greatness, where it's like, oh, if I don't do it perfectly, it's not worth it.
I know those people.
Get started and then build towards custom. But this is not optional anymore. This is something that
I
has
agree.
to be done.
And again, you can go do it. You heard this. We've got some education. So in the show notes, we'll put a link to some of the custom GPTs that we've built that you can customize from there. We just closed our biggest deal with those as well. We got a sales team of 24 now. We're building out, like, we're basically just taking these custom GPTs and just customizing it to their business, their personas, etc. But I would encourage all of you to make your own too. So if we've got a link to that training, I'll drop it in there. Also, make sure everyone subscribe. We got an AI powered seller newsletter. So 100% free. Just sign up. We're sending out. We've got one of our more technical people who pays attention to Perplexity adding quotes or adding the citations. Like, I didn't know that. That was Brian. So subscribe to the newsletter. Check out some of the custom GPTs. For anybody out there, if you have any questions, always DM me, Katie. Drop a comment on YouTube if you're watching this there. And yeah, man, this is a good topic. I'm looking forward to the next one, and we'll see you on the next episode, everybody.
Sounds good, man.